Our veteran was William Carver. He was born in 1943 and served in the Vietnam War in the Army from February of 1967 until June of 1971. Before the Vietnam War, William Carver attended Fort Sherman for a jungle warfare training camp in Toro Point, which is located at the end of the Panama Canal. Fort Sherman was founded in 1878 and known for primarily teaching soldiers to stay on their toes while camping on territories unfamiliar and reacting like it's a real combat situation. William graduated the program earning new jungle skills and a patch.
What was your responsibility as a U.S. combat soldier in Vietnam?
Was he a combat soldier?
When you're assigned to Vietnam, I was a regular Army officer, so the Pentagon told me where to go. It isn't like I went in to a pool. Me over and to the 11th Armored Cav.
The 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment was established in 1901 and was also known as the Black Horse Regiment. They are one of the best mechanized military units in the world, and aside from the Vietnam War, they served in the Cold War and Desert Storm along with many others. Specifically in the Vietnam War, tanks were vital for the cavalry's weapons, and many new innovations were made in tank building, such as the M48 Patton tank.
And that was what they call a regular Army unit. It was mostly West Point officers. And because I wasn't a West Point officer, but I was a regular Army officer, so that's the same level. So I should have been a combat position, but luckily, my primary MOS was Adjutant General, which was paper pushers, and then my combat branch was armor. So they sent me to Vietnam into armor. So I probably should have ended up as a platoon leader in the field, but because of my Adjutant General primary MOS, they snatched me up because I was a rarity, because all they had was combat officers, and I had an AG, and they thought I went to AG school, which I didn't. So they stuck me into a top position in the office. I was assistant S5, and at one time for General Patton.
So how did you get into the whole?
Well, I was in ROTC. Because I ranked high in the class, I pretty much got what I wanted. And I wanted armor. I wanted to be in tanks. But my primary was Adjutant General because I wanted to be in the office. And then they sent me to primary assignments like Fort Knox for training, armor training. And ironically, before I went to Fort Knox, they sent me out in the field, Fort Carson. And I already had my leader tab. It's a green tab once you pass, if you pass all the tank tables. And we were the only two cadets at Fort Knox with the green tabs. So we became really close friends. I got my orders from the Pentagon to go to Vietnam, to the 11th Armored Cav, specifically. So he called up the Pentagon because he wanted to be in the same unit with me. So they sent him to Vietnam, to 11th Armored Cav. And probably the hardest thing I ever had to do was, he was injured in battle. Matter of fact, that day our colonel, our CO of our unit, was killed in a firefight. And Frank was injured in that firefight. So I flew down to Saigon to see him, and he was upside down, hanging upside down with a brace on, and he said, he recognized my voice. He said, "Bill, is that you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Call my wife. I'm supposed to be in Hawaii tomorrow, R&R." I went down to Saigon and got on Mars. Mars was a telephone system we had. So I called my dad and I said, "You've got to call up Frank's wife and tell her not to get on that airplane." Well, he died 2 days later, so I requested I take him home. So I brought him home. That was tough. That was probably the toughest thing I had to do in the service. But I was pretty much at headquarters, whether it was at base camp or out in the field, for 11 months. So I was very fortunate. I had a lot of people that didn't make it over there. When I came back from the United States, I flew into Benoit Air Force Base. And what you do is you go down to the helicopter pool and you just sit there waiting for your helicopter to come in. And I'd run over to the pilot and say, "You got any room? Are you going to base camp or are you going somewhere else?" If they're going to base camp, I get my ride. Because I didn't like convoys. So I jump in, I'm in the last seat. And this guy says, "I'm taking over this helicopter on the new commander," because our commander just got killed, the day before. Said, "I'm the new commander, I'm taking over this helicopter, I'm going out in the field. Anybody going to base camp, get off." So I took my duffel bag and threw it off, and I sat on it waiting for the next plane. It took off, and it did a flame out. The engine lost power. And when it flames out, they flip over to the right because of the torque of the blades.
Yeah.
And the gunner, of course, was trapped. And the colonel jumped out as the plane was going down, and then it exploded. So he was killed. Well, after Vietnam, and I was a regular Army officer, I had pretty much any station I wanted. I could go anywhere I wanted. They said, "We'll give you 4 options, and we'll guarantee you one of the 4. So I said, England, Spain, Italy, and Germany. So I got my orders down, and I was assigned to Heidelberg, Germany. So I get stationed in Heidelberg, Germany. And now again, I'm an adjutant general. I'm not armor. I'm not in tanks anymore. Now my AG kicks in, and I'm going to be in an office, which is cool. I was reassigned. To my luck, because they assigned me to the headquarters, S5 at the headquarters. I was working for a lieutenant colonel. I was working for a major who was in a lieutenant colonel slot. S5 is PSYOPs, Civil Affairs PSYOPs. So I was there. I was stationed there for like 2.5 years, and the colonel calls me over, and he's talking for our 2-star general that runs our unit. And he said, "We can't get anybody in to take this position for 3 months. We have to bring in somebody from the Pentagon. We have to bring an officer in from the Pentagon. So you're going to have to be the adjutant general." Now, this isn't acting adjutant general. This is adjutant general. We're going to give you the courtesy of the title. You are the adjutant general. So I'm a junior captain in lieutenant colonel slot. And I'd never been to AG school.
That's fun.
Well, but I knew how to manage. I knew how to. I had these sergeants were geniuses. These young officers. I had talent, so I used my talent. And we kicked butt, man. I mean, we really. I had that place humming, and I had so much fun. And when the colonel came in, he said, "Carver, you were the adjutant general?" "Yeah." He says, "When did you go to AG school?" "Never been there, sir." "What?" He said, "Who's your executive officer?" "Me." "What?" He says, "Who's running personnel actions? That's all the paperwork the general signs. It goes to the Pentagon. Who does that job?" "Me." They brought in a senior major, a senior captain, and a lieutenant colonel to replace me in Germany.
What's your favorite memory from your time in service?
I had this Cadillac convertible. It was a boat. And Helen would take me to work. My wife Helen would take me to work, and she'd take the car out, driving around. So I'm at work the next day, and the guy says, "Hey, did you hear about that general that was coming into the airport yesterday, and he was landing, and there was this green Cadillac was driving down the runway, and they had to flag the plane off. He had to go off again and come back around. He says, what was that? What was that car? It was the green Cadillac. Well, there's only one green Cadillac in Europe, and my wife had it yesterday. So I said, honey, were you lost yesterday for a short period of time? Yeah, how did you know? I got lost on this road. It was really weird. It kind of ended. And I had to pull off. I said, honey, that wasn't a road, that was a runway. And there was a general coming in a Piper Cub, and they had to flag him off. Oh, so that's a true story too.
What do they mean?
Like point them out?
Yeah.
Is he in the frames?
Yeah.
Well, this was my first branch, armor. So that's what I wore in my collar. Then when I got into Adjutant General, this was my new insignia that I wore. And when I got out of the service, I was in the Army Reserves for a couple of years, and it was artillery. So these were my branch insignia that I wore in my uniform. These are pretty much what you get when you go to Vietnam. Everybody gets those. And then these three are pretty standard, and two of these are, I don't know what they were. This general came to me from the Vietnamese Army and said, put me in for a medal and I'll put you in for one. I went, okay. And I think it's that one.
What do the
And I
patches
have no idea what it's for.
Pictures?
Yeah.
Well, this is when I got promoted. This was my Vietnam uniform. Pretty, everything was camouflage. Everything was camouflage, so you don't get fancy blues and golds. It's all black and green. And I carried a .45 caliber gun. That was my shoulder holster. And for the first 3 months, somebody had a World War II grease gun. Have you ever seen those machine guns that got the big long handles on them? They're called grease guns. And you can't hit anything with them because you pull the trigger and the gun just goes like this. It's crazy. And the .45 caliber bullets are going everywhere, You can't hit a target with them. It was the stupidest thing in the world. But I carried it around for 3 months because I thought it was cool, And then somebody said I wasn't John Wayne, so I got rid of it. This was when I got my award with Patton. This is when I made captain in Germany. This was a picture of me in my office in Vietnam. That was my beautiful office. The thing that we were most excited about is how many flies you could kill every day. And one day I killed 74 flies. That was the record. 74 flies. It was just terrible. It's just terrible. And then that's pretty much it. Because this is the same as this.
Yeah.
And this is when I made captain in Germany. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the service.